Please join in a moment of centering silence. And please join in singing our in-gathering hymn, number 123. The words are printed in your order of service. Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Society on this morning when winter has caught up with us. This is a community where curious seekers gather to explore spiritual, ethical, and social issues in an accepting and nurturing environment. Unitarian Universalism supports the freedom of conscience of each individual, as together we seek to be a force for good in the world. My name is John Powell, and on behalf of the congregation, I'd like to extend a special welcome to visitors. We're a welcoming congregation, so whoever you are and wherever you happen to be on your life's journey, we celebrate your presence among us. Newcomers are encouraged to stay for our fellowship hour after the service and to visit the library, which is directly across from the center doors. Bring your drinks and your questions. Members of our staff and lay ministry will be on hand to welcome you. You may also look for persons holding teal stoneware coffee mugs. These are FUS members knowledgeable about our faith community who would love to visit with you. We welcome children to stay for the duration of the service. However, because it's difficult for some in attendance to hear in our very lively acoustical environment, our Child Haven and Commons are excellent places to retire. If a child needs to talk or move around, the service can still be seen and heard from those areas. And speaking of noise, this would be a very good time to turn off any electronic devices. It takes a lot of people a lot of volunteers to run the service each morning, and I'd like to thank some of our volunteers who are on duty this morning. Tom Boykoff is our lay minister. Our greeter, Mary Elizabeth Kunkel. Our ushers are David Bradley, John McKevna, Nancy Daly, Marty Hollis. Our hospitality and coffee this morning by Helena McGevna. And we thank them very much. Please note the announcements in the red floors. We have one correction this morning, which is that the next drop-in for the shawl ministry will be Thursday morning, January 14th, 10 to 11:30. In the Atrium Library. Again, welcome. We hope today's service will stimulate your mind, touch your heart, and stir your spirit.
Let us come into this place of peace and tranquility where we can relinquish our clutter and relax from busyness into being. Let us settle into that quiet place where the earth supports our bodies and the community lifts our spirits, where we can breathe in peace and center ourselves in love. Let us welcome that tranquility where our hearts can open and our thoughts expand, where we feel ourselves part of the new that grows from the old in the spiraling unity of our years. And if you will rise now in body or spirit to join together in our words of chalice lighting, which are printed in your order of service. May the light of this chalice give light and warmth to our community when we are joyful and when we despair. And may we feel the warmth spread from our circle to wider and wider circles until all know they belong to the one circle of life. And before we join together in song, if you'll take a moment to turn and greet your neighbor. Please be seated. And if anyone would like to come up closer for our story today, come on up. Hi, guys. Ooh, those are some good snow pants. Did they keep you warm this morning? Yeah. It's really cold out there. What did you think when you went outside this morning? Brr. Did you hear the grown-ups? They're all going brr, grumble, grumble, grumble. Anybody gone sledding yet? Yeah? Did you go, Ben? Yeah. You went sledding 2 times? 5 times? I haven't gone at all. Maybe that's what I should do this afternoon. Brr. Thank you. All right, well, our story today is about a little boy who is going on a journey, and we will see how he figures out where to go. There it is. This book has lots of really, really beautiful pictures, so Sean's going to put them up there for us. A sweet breeze met the boy as he awoke to his journey. He traveled on all 4s for quite some time. Do you guys remember when you went on all 4s? Yeah, it's still a pretty good way to get around, right? And he grew, and he grew, and he paused. Now, one day, he had the urge to stand, to walk. It made his journey easier. He could run, too, but for the most part, he walked. He wandered the fields, exploring, sometimes stopping, sometimes going happily in circles, sometimes dancing, sometimes napping. Now, one day, the boy saw an oak leaf drift by, and it landed on the water. He wondered how that leaf managed to float the way the stars seem to float in the night sky. A spray of sand interrupted his thoughts. "Where are you going in such a hurry?" asked the boy. But the rabbit shot out of sight, disappearing onto a path the boy had never noticed before. So the boy left the floating leaf and he wandered toward the path where he saw a cat. "Where did the rabbit go in such a hurry?" the boy asked. "Well, he was in a rush to start his journey, and it's time for you to start your journey too." "Oh, but I have been on a journey," the boy cried. "I've seen many wonderful things. Some I understand and some I don't, like how that leaf floats on the water." "Well, that's fascinating, but I would hate for you to be late. You don't want to be left behind." "Behind?" the boy said. "Who's ahead of me?" "Oh, well, you wouldn't know how many. You know, you're not the only one on this journey. There are plenty ahead of you, lots to follow." So the boy began walking down the path, and it stretched out far ahead of him. Signs kept pointing him along the way. Some parts of the journey were easy. Some were difficult. Okay, and look at those signs. What do you notice about those signs? Right, you see that? Exactly. Exactly, Finn. Those signs are pointing every which way, and the bridge is breaking. I am sure the grown-ups will tell you about times in their life where they felt the signs were pointing every which way, and the bridge under them was breaking. We all have those moments. Although he was following the well-worn path, he had this growing feeling maybe that he was lost. The forest seemed to be growing thicker. The soil was turning wet and muddy. Every step became a struggle. Clouds rolled in overhead, and the darkness started closing in. Now, after many difficult miles, he couldn't take another step. But he noticed an oak leaf drift by, and it sailed with ease. It swirled on a breeze, and it was carried deep into the forest. The leaf disappeared behind a grove of trees. So he stepped off the path to follow it. He found the leaf floating on a pond in a peaceful clearing, like a delicate boat on a voyage. His thoughts were interrupted by a voice. "Oh, there you are. I was worried," said the cat. "Don't wander off like that. Now hurry, you are falling behind." So the boy ran and ran and ran and ran, and as he ran, he noticed the forest was getting thicker. The muddy ground was covered with water, and he could no longer see the path. He sloshed through the swamp until he came to a clearing where he saw a bird. "Well, you look lost," the bird said. "Well, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm lost. I really haven't thought about it." "Hadn't thought about it," said the bird. "You must have some idea of where you're going." "Well, I've been following this path. It seems like lots of people have taken it. There's been all these signs along the way. This cat keeps pushing me back on it when I wander." And the bird asked, "But where do you want to be going?" "I'm not sure," said the boy as he looked around the swamp. "I do know that this isn't where I want to be. I guess I am lost." So the bird said, "Ask yourself where it is that you want to go, and then follow the signs that you already know." "What signs? What are you talking about? Where are these signs?" But the bird had flown away. The boy looked up into the sky, something he hadn't done in a very long time because he was busy looking down, trying to follow that path, right? So he looks up, trying to find this bird, and as he does, the clouds sort of open up, and there above him was a star. That's right, a really, really bright star. So the boy stared at the star, and he sort of felt this tingling all over, and he heard a whisper in his ear, and the voice sounded really familiar. So the boy began to walk toward the star, and as he did, he noticed that there were many other stars stretched out above him like a great big map. They'd been there all along, waiting for him. So he stopped and he rested a moment. "Now, what are you staring at?" croaked a voice. "What's up there? What's so interesting?" And the boy waded it closer in the swamp, and he said, "Well, I'm stars. I'm looking at the stars." And there was a frog. "What stars?" asked the frog. "I see a dark sky and mist and green clouds." "You don't see them?" the boy asked. "They're helping guide me out of the swamp. Do you want to come?" "No, thank you," the frog smiled. "I'm quite at home here. I swam here as a tadpole. I grew up here, and here I'm going to stay." And the boy realized at that moment that everyone has a different journey, different signs, different stars. Everyone has their own constellation. So the boy left the frog, who croaked a "good luck," and he ventured beyond the swampy forest. And as he did, he heard a cry. Who is it? That bunny rabbit. It's the rabbit that went flying by him so fast before. Now he looked tired and hungry, and he was stranded on that limb in the middle of the rushing river. So the boy started to wade out, but he realized that the river was too deep and the rabbit was trapped. And then he saw an oak leaf drift by, and it gave him an idea. What do you think the idea was? Make a boat, exactly. He used swamp grass and twigs, and he was able to rescue the rabbit. The boy smiled, knowing that he helped make the rabbit's journey easier. And when he looked up, he noticed that the star had become even brighter. He followed that star, and as he did, the muddy ground grew drier, then grassy, then soft and sandy, and finally came to rest atop a dune. There below him was a beach and a boat. The boy looked out toward the horizon. The star glowed steadily, reminding him that he still had a long journey ahead, but it was his very own journey, his own wonderful journey. And then look at the last page, the beginning. He's at the beginning of his journey, just like you are. And this story always reminds me of the power of listening to your own heart, or want to say following your own star. Because just as that wise bird said, you listen to your inner voice and discover where it is that you want to go. Thanks so much for being wonderful listeners today. We're going to rise in body or spirit, sing you out to your classes with our next hymn. Have a great time. Please be seated. Our first reading from Sarah York. When Jesus was baptized, the Spirit descended upon him like a dove, and the voice of God said, "This is my Son, in whom I am well pleased." It must have been a great feeling, but it didn't last long. The next thing Jesus knew, that nice spirit that had descended like a dove became aggressive and drove him into the wilderness. There he spent 40 days of deprivation, self-examination, and confrontation with the devil. This was no Sierra Club hike through the Qumran National Forest. He suffered, he struggled, he was tested. Jesus' solitary struggle to remain true to his covenant and calling echoes those of his ancestors, who spent 40 years in the wilderness establishing religious community. Wilderness is a part of every person's journey, and part of our journey together as human beings who seek to live in community. Time in the wilderness is always a time of struggle. It is also a time of transformation and renewal. In traditional terms, it is a time of purification. The journey into the wilderness reminds us that we are alone and not alone. We are neither where we have been nor where we are going. There is danger and possibility, risk and promise. In the wilderness, the Spirit may descend like a dove and lift us on its wings of hope, then drive us into the depths of despair. It may affirm us with a gift of grace and then challenge us to change. In the stories and rituals of Eastern as well as Western religions, a journey into the wilderness represents a time when we both pursue and resist the holy. We may choose to enter the wilderness like the people of Yahweh, to escape bondage, or like Henry David Thoreau, to live deliberately, or we may, like Jesus, be driven there without much choice. Once there, even our markers of time and space collapse, for this wilderness is not in space or time. It is the boundless territory of the soul. And these words from Mark Nepo. Somewhere in the Middle Ages, in a remote part of Germany, the introspective seer Mechthild of Magdeburg came upon the wisdom that living in our own natural element is the surest way to know inner prosperity. She wrote, "A fish cannot drown in water. A bird does not fall in air. Each creature God has made must live in its own true nature." Her examples are striking. All we have to do is put the fish in the air and the bird in the water to see the dangers of being what we are not. Of course, it is very clear and obvious for the fish and the bird where they belong. Not so for us humans. Part of the blessing and the challenge of being human is that we must discover our own true nature. This is not some noble abstract quest, but an inner necessity. For only by living in our own element can we thrive without anxiety. And since human beings are the only life form that can drown and still go to work, the only species that can fall from the sky and still fold laundry, it is imperative that we find that vital element that brings us alive. I vividly recall my struggles as a teenager when my mother wanted me to be a lawyer and my father wanted me to be an architect. Somehow I knew I needed to be a poet. Something in it brought me alive. The only one to understand was my boyhood friend Vic, who in the midst of qualifying strongly for pre-med studies, realized he needed to be a florist. For something in working with flowers brought him alive. This is not about being a poet or a florist or a doctor or a lawyer or an architect. It is about the true vitality that waits beneath all occupations for us to tap into. If we can discover what we love, if you feel energy and excitement and a sense that life is happening, you're probably near your true nature. Joy in what we do is not an added feature. It is a sign of deep and abiding health. Ellen and Linda for the gorgeous music today. An ancient wisdom tale tells the story of a monk who sat by the banks of the Ganges River with one of his students. As they watched the water flow by, a large scorpion began making its way along the steep banks. The scorpion falls into the river and begins to struggle and drown. So without hesitation, the monk reaches in, pulls the scorpion from the water, and as he places it on the bank, the scorpion stings his hand. Several minutes later, the same scorpion fell again into the river and began to drown. Again, the monk reached in, and again he was stung as he set the scorpion on the bank. A third time, the scorpion fell, and a third time it was retrieved by the monk with the same results. Now, by this time, the student who had been watching could take it no longer. "Master, why is it that you keep saving that beastly scorpion from drowning? Can't you see that he's just going to keep stinging you?" "Yes, I know it is going to sting me," said the monk. "It is the nature and the purpose of the scorpion to sting, but it is my purpose to save." Now, I am sure that many of us would have some questions for this monk. Some of you might even be thinking of wise advice that you'd like to share with him. But when I saw that the theme of this month was purpose, I immediately thought of this happy fellow sitting on the bank. What would it be like to have such a defined sense of who we are, why we are here, and what we need to do, that we followed it without question, in spite of the consequences? There's another story, this one from the great Sufi poet Rumi. He wrote it in the 12th century. A master turned to his students one day and said, "There is one thing in the world that you must never forget. And that is that you have come into this world for a particular task, and that is your purpose. If you do not perform it, then you will have done nothing." We could go on with stories like this because they're found in the traditions and the cultures of the world. Among the Dagara people of Africa, it's said that each person comes into the world with a specific purpose, which we promptly forget the moment we are born. It is the task of our living to get that knowledge back and fulfill that purpose. Now, it's not only these traditional stories that are telling us of the importance of purpose. Now, the scientists are telling us as well. In an article titled "How Having a Purpose in Life Impacts Your Brain in a Big Way," author Ashton Applewhite wrote these words: "We have known for quite a while that some people seem to escape cognitive decline well into their 90s and beyond. Intriguingly, the brains of these sharp older people often reveal the extensive abnormalities like the plaques and the tangles that are seen in people with dementia. We think it's because they've built what neuroscientists call cognitive reserve, backup neurons and connections between them that help prevent the signs of aging. When scientists at Chicago's Rush University Medical Center dug deeper, they uncovered another overarching factor. They examined the brain tissues of 246 people who died during a long-term study of more than 1,400 older men and women. The autopsy results were striking. People who exhibited very different levels of cognitive decline often showed similar levels of damage in their brain. The brains that functioned better, it turned out, belonged to people who, over the course of this study, had indicated that they had experienced purpose in their life. In other words, having a goal in life actually affects cellular activity in the brain. Plaques and tangles still form, but having a goal, feeling that you live each day with a sense of purpose, increases the brain's protective reserve. The study defined purpose as the tendency to derive meaning from life's experiences and possess a sense of intentionality and goal-directedness that guides behavior. Now, I think this sense of intentionality, this sense of being able to find meaning, is easier to grasp at different points in our lives. And I think it might be most difficult when we feel that the world under us is shaky and we are woken up to the reality that life as we knew it is no longer possible. Those times when we have found ourselves in the wilderness, driven there either by choice or no choice of our own. Perhaps we face a divorce, a change of employment, or the end of a career that defined us, a move to an unknown place, the birth of a child, the death of a loved one. We feel that this crucial piece of our life journey has ended and a new one is beginning. But where is the map for this new path? Yet perhaps this time in the wilderness might be more abundant than we would think. Wendell Berry once said that it may be when we no longer know what to do that we have come to our real work. And that when we no longer know which way to go, we have come to our real journey. So, where can we find this map? Minister and therapist Wayne Mueller gives us these 4 questions that I think could be a starting point. Who am I? What do I love? How shall I live knowing I will die? And what is my gift to the family of earth? Each one of these questions could easily be its own reflection, but we'll look at each one briefly. Who am I? Seeking the essential nature of who we are, our deepest selves, is a quest that theologians, philosophers, scientists, most likely all of us, have pursued at one time and will pursue again. The question takes us to places of insight and self-knowledge that we wouldn't discover if we didn't ask. At your core, removing all the labels and all the names, who are you? What do I love? Mueller writes that we gain courage from honestly naming what it is that we love. When we know what our treasure is, where it is to be found, when we have identified what it is that we hold to be sacred, of ultimate value, then we are filled with clarity of purpose and a powerful capacity to act on what we believe. Part of coming together here in community is the work of discerning, both as individuals and as a body of friends, what it is that we love, and then supporting one another in the courage to act on it. How shall I live knowing I will die? This question is a powerful one. It can lead to the realization that our full presence in each moment is essential to living well. If I am able to show up fully in any given moment, it will reveal its beauty and its possibility. Rather than letting the finite time span we have define our existence, it motivates us to make each and every day count. And finally, what is my gift to to the family of Earth. We all want to give something of ourselves. We all want to make a difference in whatever way we can. Our path of self-discovery, our path to greater fulfillment, integrity, love, is found in discovering what it is that we have to offer. It may be a talent, but it may also simply be presence. Our undivided attention can sometimes be the greatest gift that we can give to another. In this inquiry, we discover who we are in community with others, in relationship. We realize that we are whole as human beings because of this capacity to give and receive. Now, in true Unitarian Universalist fashion, I'm going to remind you that I do not have the answers to these questions. I give you the questions, and where they take you, what path you choose, is entirely up to you. So there's one last story that I want to share with you. This one's by Geraldine Edwards. Now, Edwards' daughter had been calling and asking her for quite some time to go with her into the mountains of San Bernardino to see the daffodils. Now, when she finally decided, I'll go, this is what happened. We got out of the car, and I followed Carolyn down the path, and when we turned a corner, I looked up and I gasped. Before me lay the most glorious sight. It looked as though someone had taken a vast vat of gold and poured it down over the mountain peak and the slopes. The flowers were planted in majestic, swirling patterns, great ribbons and swaths of deep orange, white, lemon yellow, salmon pink, saffron, butter. Each different colored variety was planted as a group so that it swirled and flowed like a river with its own unique hue. Who has done this? I asked. It's just one woman, Carolyn answered. She lives here on the property. That's her home. When we walked up to the house, on the patio, there was a poster that said, "Answers to the questions I know you are asking." The first answer was a simple one: 50,000 bulbs. The second answer was one at a time by one woman, 2 hands, 2 feet, and very little brain. The third answer was began in 1958. There it was, the daffodil principle. For me, that moment was a life-changing experience. I thought of this woman who I had never met, who more than 50 years before had begun one bulb at a time to bring her vision of beauty and joy to an obscure mountaintop. This unknown woman had forever changed the world we live in. She had created something of magnificence, beauty. The principle her daffodil garden taught: to move toward our goals and desires one step at a time, often just one baby step at a time, and to love the doing. When we multiply tiny pieces of time with small increments of effort, we too will find we can do magnificent things. We can change the world. When Edwards expressed regret to her daughter that she hadn't devoted 30 or 40 or 50 years towards some comparably wonderful achievement, her daughter summed up the message of the day by answering simply, "Start now." So perhaps you will ask yourself these questions. Who am I? What do I love? How shall I live in the face of death? What is my gift? And you'll hear a quiet voice that asks you to greet each day with gratitude. And from that place of blessing, you'll decide a different way to spend your days, or you'll find a cause that you want to devote your precious time. Perhaps a small voice will tell you that you are love, and you'll decide to greet each person you meet with a smile and an open heart. Maybe your answer will be bringing beauty into the world, and you'll use your gifts to figure out how to make that happen. Perhaps you will say to love the earth and help it heal, and then you'll go forward from here and live into that dream. Maybe you'll decide to live into each moment, learning how to let go of worry and fear, and then you will take your learnings and help others grow as well. Today could be the day that you open your heart to another, and you listen deeply to their story, and you remind them of their value and their worth, and you let them know that they matter. In all of these ways, in whatever way you find to bring your gift into the world, you will change the world. So I'll leave you today with these words from Rebecca Parker. Your gifts, whatever you discover them to be, can be used to bless or curse the world. The mind's power, the strength of hands, the reaches of the heart, the gift of speaking, listening, imagining, waiting. Any of these can serve to feed the hungry, bind up wounds, welcome the sacred, praise the stranger, do the work of justice, offer love. You must answer this question: what will you do with your gifts? Choose to bless the world. The choice to bless the world is more than an act of will. It is a moving forward into the world with the intention to do good. It is an act of recognition, a confession of surprise, a grateful acknowledgement that in the midst of a broken world, unspeakable beauty abides. There's an embrace of kindness that encompasses all life, even yours. And while there is injustice that can numb, there moves inside you a revolutionary love, urging, insisting that which is sacred will not be defiled. Those who bless the world live their life as a gesture of thanks. The choice to bless the world can take you into solitude to search for the sources of power and grace. More, may you let the choice draw you into community, the endeavor shared, the heritage passed on, the companionship of struggle, the comfort of human friendship, the company of earth with its chorus of life welcoming you. None of us alone can save the world, but together. Now that is another possibility that is just out there waiting. I now invite you into the giving and the receiving of the morning's offering. You'll see our outreach offering this week will be shared with the Madison Area Rehabilitation Center, and we thank you for your generosity. And if you will rise now in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 1028. May you speak your deepest truths, knowing that they will change as you do. May you sing the music within you, composing your own melody, playing your song with all your heart. May you draw, paint, sculpt, and sew, showing the world your vision. May you write letters, poetry, slogans, the great novel, laying bare your words of love and connection. May you love even though your heart breaks again and again. And until the end of your days, may your life be filled with possibilities and with courage. Blessed be, go in peace, and please be seated for the postlude.